this is where we're going to kind of put everything together and talk about how we can factor a polynomial if we're given a 0. So what I have here is f of -3 equals 0. This means if I would put -3 in for x, I would get 0 for an answer. So let's think about what it means whenever we can put a number in for x and get 0 for an answer. If I get 0 for an answer and a number in the x spot, what I've really found here is a 0, an x-intercept, or a root. We've called them all three things. So if you think about how you get a 0, it would be as if you had this. If -3 was a 0, then that would mean that x plus 3 was a factor. Think about that for a second. If x plus 3 is a factor, then -3 would be a 0 because I would subtract 3 from both sides, and I would get x equals 3. So this is why when we were dividing by x plus 3, we were putting in a -3 in our synthetic division. And if the answer comes out to be 0, we have no remainder. That means we've found one of our roots or our x-intercepts. So let's keep going with this. So if -3 is a 0, x plus 3 is a factor. So I'm going to put -3 for my synthetic division. I'm going to have 2, 11, 18, and 9. So this tells me if I put in -3 and I get a 0 right here, then -3 is a 0 of this polynomial. So let's try it. Bring down the 2, -6, add, multiply, add, multiply. This time these cancel out. That's a good thing. I always put a little happy face there because if that's a good thing, that means that x plus 3 was one of my factors. So in turn, -3 was a 0 or root. So if I divided out an x, what I'm left with is 2x squared plus 5x plus 3. And then I can try to see if that part will factor again, and I don't think this one does. So in order to find the zeros of that one, so my factors would be this one and this one. So this one's easy to find the 0, but if I want to find the 0 that goes with this one, since it doesn't factor, I'd have to do the quadratic formula. So that means it's going to cross the x-intercept at -3, and two places that would be decimals. Let's do another problem like this one. So here's the polynomial. F of x equals 3x cubed plus 14x squared minus 28x minus 24. And I'm going to tell you that one of the zeros is -6. If I were you, I only have 2 examples here. I would try to pause it, try it yourself, and see what you can come up with. What we're looking for here is to see if we can find the factors. So we're trying to factor this. If I'm given one of the zeros, see if you can factor this. All right, because I know that -6 is one of the zeros, that means that x plus 6 has to equal 0. So that makes -6 a factor, or a 0. So x plus 6 is one of the factors. So in my synthetic division box, I'm going to put -6. And divide that into 3, 14, let's see here, I've cubed, squared to the first, and no x, so I don't have any holes. Bring down the 3. 3 times -6 is -18. Add, multiply, add, multiply. And when I add here, I get a 0. That's good. That means that what's left is a factor. It goes in evenly. So x plus 6 was a factor, and then what's left is a factor. I started with x cubed, I divided out an x, so what's left would be 3x squared minus 4x minus 4. So the factors of this one are x plus 6 and 3x squared minus 4x minus 4. Okay, let's try one more again. Pause it, try it yourself. See if you can work this one. Oh, you know what? On this previous one, this one actually does factor again. So let's see if we can factor it. Goes to 3x and x, and plus 2 and minus 2, because that would be 3x squared minus 6 plus 2. So really, I have 3 factors, and I should have 3 zeros because it was an x to the third problem to start with. And if you start with x to the third, you'll have 3 zeros. Let's see if we can find those. X could be negative 6. 3x equals negative 2. So x equals negative 2/3 would be a 0. And x equals 2 would be a 0. So this one has 3 zeros. It's an x to the cube problem. And so that means it would cross the x-intercept at 3 places. Let's do one more problem. I'll have you pause it. And what we're going to do this time is we're going to try to find the factors, and we're going to try to find the zeros. So here's the polynomial we're going to start with. F of x equals 2x cubed minus 9x squared minus 32x minus 21. I'm going to tell you that one of the zeros to start with is 7. So if 7 is one of the zeros, then that means I've already found one of the factors is x minus 7. Because x minus 7 equals 0 would give us 7 for, x minus 7 equals 0 would give us 7 for the 0. So let's do synthetic division. I'll put 7 here, and then I'll have 2, negative 9, negative 32, and negative 21. So because this is a 0, I should get a 0 right here in the end. Let's see if we do. Bring down a 2. 2 times 7 is 14. Add, multiply, add, multiply, add. So good. They told me that this was a 0, and I was able to verify it because I got a 0 in that spot. So x minus 7 is a factor, and we're left with 2x squared plus 5x plus 3. Let's see if that factors. 2x, x, plus 3, plus 1. So 2x squared, that'd be 2x, 5x, 3. Yep. So my factors are x minus 6, 2x plus 3, or sorry, x minus 7, 2x plus 3, and x plus 1. So our zeros are at 7. Here the 0 would be negative 3/2, and here the 0 would be negative 1. So those are the 3 places where this polynomial would cross the x-axis.